The Amazon region has suffered irregular burns, deforestation, violence, and government's neglect. The consequences of this catastrophe will be felt not only by those who live in the forest, it will affect the whole planet. Let's recap a little of this history to understand the present and guarantee a better future. You probably enjoy a lot of what the Amazon has to offer, such as chocolate, açaí, or guaraná. These are only some of the more than 3,000 edible fruits, leaves, roots, and seeds the Amazon provides. This is possible today because the more than 10 million people who lived in Brazil around the 1500s had a complex cultivation system in the areas where they lived. And the ways of life of these indigenous people contributed immensely to the exuberance that we know today. These indigenous communities felt a great respect towards animals, plants, and rivers, and built a deep connection to Mother Nature. But their lives would be drastically altered with the arrival of a distant people, with far different customs that landed from over the ocean a bit over 500 years ago. The first report sent to the Portuguese king spoke of plentiful rainfall, fertile soil, and abundant nature. Nothing was lacking for the people living there. Sadly, however, the colonizers were quick to break the balanced relationship of humans with nature. The Europeans could only see the gold in the soil, timber in the trees, and sugarcane in the plantations. They brought millions of slaves out of Africa, stole lands from the indigenous people, and so, an enormous human and environmental wealth had to give way to the iron logic of commerce and greed. Given Brazil's enormous size, for centuries the Amazon rainforest remained relatively protected from the exploitation brought on by colonization. It was only after the 1960s that the Brazilian military dictatorship decided to expand into the region. They had to protect the sovereignty over the territory, they argued. And to create pastures for cattle and new fortune, the generals incited thousands of people from other regions of the country to occupy and deforest a good portion of the Amazon. These modern crusades brought along the crushing advances of their machines. The export of meat, soy, and minerals gave new impulse to colonize untouched areas, while sacrificing nature and the lives of local people for profits of the urban rich, thousands of kilometers away. Meanwhile, the scientific community began to pay attention to the importance of the immense biodiversity of the forest and the interaction between vegetation, animals, people, and climate. In the last few decades, droughts and floods increased significantly, with many weather records broken. Deforestation was starting to play havoc with the local climate. Scientists discovered that once deforestation of the Amazon forest exceeds 20 to 25%, its climate will also be totally ruined and the rainforest would start to die back itself. We're almost there. 17% of it was already brought down. Once this tipping point is reached, the area would be devastated and transformed into dry savanna, holding little biodiversity. Today, the Amazon rainforest loses an equivalent to a soccer field per minute due to deforestation. The consequences of reaching this tipping point will be terrible, not just for the region, but for the whole world. Once this enormous heart of the Amazon stops pumping humidity, large parts of Brazil and surrounding countries would dry out and heat up. The intact Amazon rainforest takes care of itself and others. The shape of the forest canopy makes the wind dance, and its deep roots fill the air with water vapor. This allows for rain year-round, producing more humidity. It's a water cycle that renews and renovates the enormous diversity of species. If we do not decide to protect the forest once and for all, its death would be devastating to the whole world. It will not only diminish the distribution of rainfall and humidity to the south of the continent. Its fires will also unload gigatons of carbon dioxide into an already overburdened atmosphere. Water scarcity, devastating storms, extreme temperatures, and deaths of animals. The socioeconomic damages will run into the trillions of dollars. If nothing is done, this is the future awaiting us just around the corner. So why do we keep on riding this risky road? This can all be avoided if we put our heads, hearts, and hands into it. There's a true treasure hidden in the Amazon, cultivated and protected by its native people for thousands of years. Technologies of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, such as digital technologies, biotechnology, and nanotechnology, may be used to generate new foods and medicines from the fauna and flora, especially if this is done in alliance with those who know this ecosystem. The sales of acai, for example, generates $1.5 billion a year for the Amazon. The harvesting is done without deforestation and with respect for local populations. Just these berry yields are at least 5 times higher than those of soy, and this experience can be replicated with other forest products. Drawing in the local population into this sustainable economy, combining indigenous practices, knowledge, and wisdom, will strengthen the region's ecology, economy, and the well-being of the local population. The time has come to swap the vision of aggression towards nature for one of a cooperation with it. With the forest still standing, it is possible to create a tropical bioeconomy, generating jobs, increasing quality of life, and economic prosperity. The future of the Amazon forest is our future. Let's create a more beautiful world our hearts know it's possible. Let's start in the Amazon. It will be our gift to the future of the planet.